Are we stable with cameras now?
We could very well be.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
They changed the wiring. There was what we call a bandwidth issue.
Okay.
And so they put some boosters in, and we got some HDMI cable up there instead of USB, whatever.
It's all fun. Whatever. That's technical stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good work.
Okay. And what's hanging out of the ceiling?
Well, we have to get power to those cameras to get them to work now.
Oh,
and
that's part of it?
This is part of it. We put boosters in to get the signal to the computer. But this is temporary. If it works, give us a couple of months and we'll wire it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order for Thursday, December 20th, 2018. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So Charlie's absent today. Public participation. Is there any public participation? Barbara.
Yes, Barbara Sherman, 12 Allen Drive, Roxborough. You have on the agenda, under new business, discussion of the Sabonis property. I thought we had already discussed it, so I would have thought it would be old business. But the last time it was discussed, I wasn't here, I was at a river meeting, which I should be at now. And some things were said that I'd like to just clarify. Andy at first said that it was landlocked property. Steve clarified that it was not.
It is not. I recognize that.
But it was also said that this would be for the benefit of the River Commission. No. It was brought to your attention because our charge says we are supposed to identify parcels, property that could benefit the recreation needs of the town. The River Commission has no need for it. We already are maxed out, taking care of the trails in the state park, trying to keep the Blue Way and the Greenway open, conducting the fundraising for the Five Corner Cupboard. We don't need this property. It was brought to the attention because it was for sale for $16,000 for 16 acres, as I remember. And that seemed like a reasonable price. Going back, the Norton property. We were given rights to walk on the Norton property by Mr. Norton, the original Mr. Norton. And then he died. And his family inherited. And they thought the property was worth millions. And they took back the permission for us to walk there because they didn't want to reduce the value of that property with us walking on it. Our thought was, this bonus passes, her heirs might think that property was worth a lot more than $16,000, and the town would then, if they wanted it, have to pay more. That's why we brought it to the attention. But the River Commission does not need it. It is of no use to us particularly. We already have a spot that we can land, bring our canoes on with what was already donated. It would just give us more work if we had it. We don't have the equipment to do it. We have 13 members right now, and we are hard pressed to take care of what we're doing. We do a lot of hours, volunteer hours, working. We don't need this property. The town might need it, but the River Commission does not.
I made that point, Barbara. You and I had that discussion, and I pointed out that it was not a priority for you people at all.
Correct. Correct.
Do you have a feeling of whether we should buy it or not?
Yeah.
I think The fact that the Harrington property is up for sale, if you ever had another big event, this might be able, if it were taken care of and made into park area, might be able to accommodate what you were doing. That's why we thought it was of value. There might be other places in town, I don't know. We heard about this one. Since we already had some acreage, this would expand. I thought, yes, it was worth the money.
It's adjacent to the Sabonis Landing, right?
Correct, correct.
Um,
And it's more river, more area on the river, yes.
But it's, so I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about the need to preserve our rural character, and that translates oftentimes to I don't want to do anything. This is actually actively preserving our rural character.
You know, it was said that, okay, we just brought it, hey people, this is a piece that may be worthwhile for the town, at a reasonable price. Again, I don't know if there's other pieces, I do know, of course, that there is other pieces that's available, bigger price, but I don't know if there's other smaller ones that might be worth the 16,000 or whatever. But we've identified this and thought it was worthwhile to present, but not because the River Commission needs it, just because we thought it was worthwhile for the town to acquire it.
So your advice is probably not to pick it up right now?
That's not what I said at all. That's not,
She says the opposite of that.
that's not what I
That land will
said.
sit there forever. No one's ever going to buy it. Nobody can ever build on it. It'll be there.
Well, and as long as we're discussing,
We've got that on
I wanted
the
her
agenda later,
opinion.
haven't we?
we got it on the agenda,
Yeah,
so let's
we're gonna
wait
talk
till we
about
get there, and Barbara, you can chip in or pitch in then too. Further public participation? Yeah.
Marie, this is a Penrose Road Forever. I wasn't able to make the last meeting, I believe the date was the 18th, regarding the fire department discussion. So only if any motions were made, there's nothing posted on the website yet. And I have the answer as to why it wasn't recorded, because the thing was down. It's been 2 days already, there's nothing up online.
Yeah, the meeting on the 18th was held at the Warehouse Point Fire District.
But it was a selectman meeting.
Was the selectmen meeting, no motions were made. It was a discussion.
Were there any minutes taken?
Yes, there were. They're not posted yet, but they will
When do
be.
we anticipate that?
I would say Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Bentham, 37 Wall Road. I just wanted to make sure that we can discuss this matter, the Sabonis property, under the Sabonis property.
Yes.
I want to reserve the right. I got 1 or 2
Okay.
comments.
Good idea.
And they'll be
Further public participation? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes. So I'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes of December 6, 2018. There's a second.
I second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I can't vote because I wasn't here.
You can.
You can, yes.
You can vote
Actually, you can.
on minutes when you were in a meeting,
You read it?
Okay.
as long as you read them.
Okay.
Okay, communications. Is there any communications? I don't have any communications. Board and commission resignations and appointments.
Move to reappoint Albert Grant to the American Heritage River Commission as an alternate member for a term expiring November 1st, 2020.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
I move to appoint Betsy Burns to the Elderly Commission for a term expiring on December 31st, 2020.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Unanimous. Go on to unfinished business, the Broadbrook Mill discussion. And I'm going to use the computer. right here is a report we received from a structural engineer about the Broadbrook Mill, the main building. We call it building number 11. And this is a little confusing. Okay, so this is the structural engineering firm that produced the report. If you go through it, that's an overhead view of the structure. That's a pretty good picture of the structure. That's some of us there before we took down the doors to get into it. That faculty was the structural engineer who put this report together. Page down. And there's some interior, and she took a picture of the outside. She said, and also appeared, she said we should get rid of this ivy, hurting the bricks, but also there's a hole in the roof right there. You can see that. And this is the hole in the roof right there. It's kind of messed up the inside. And there's mold on the inside. And she said we should get rid of the growth around the building, and the drain pipe should be made good. This is at the foot of at the base. This is in the basement. Redstone is a defect there. But the most important thing is the conclusion. I'll go down a little bit to that. And it says, in summary, is the author's opinion that the majority of the structural framing supporting building 11 is in good condition and capable of reuse. In isolated locations below roof breaches and eaves, the building envelope has been breached, allowing precipitation to come into the building. Moisture from the precipitation has caused localized deterioration of the frame members that would need to be repaired or replaced for future use. Pervasive mold throughout the building would need to be stripped and all finishes and the framing treated with boric acid for prior to reuse. And it says in the short term, it is advisable to seal the breaches, remove the vegetation, and so basically, she says it keeps the structurally sound building.
This is disclaimer for the
Very supplement on these findings or opinions, information available. That's fine.
Yeah. So, and maybe you could fill us in, Andy. I know we're going to send this to UTask, and we have a Martin Romano there.
I talked to Martin Diorano yesterday. He has the report. He sent it on to DEEP as well as the Department of Economic and Community Development. He's going to set up a meeting for sometime in January for UTC and the town of East Windsor to go and visit those two government agencies.
And it was DECD and who?
And DEEP and Department of Economic and Community Development. They had one meeting with them already. It was a UTC Connecticut Department meeting. It was a good meeting. They said that they had 10 to 12 developers who do this kind of thing, redevelop historical facility sites rather. That they said that if the building was structurally sound, it improved the chances of having someone get involved in restoring it, that it was a plus, not a minus. He also said that they have selected a contractor to patch the roof. so it's a little more leakage through the hole in the roof. In addition to that, the report says it would be in the best interest of the building to add extensions to the downspouts to bring it away from the foundation of the building, and they're going to do that. And also strip the, if you notice, there's vegetation lines in the grout lines of the walls, and she recommended having that stripped out, and they're going to do that also. So they're going to do what was requested.
Oh, great.
And they already have selected a contractor to patch the roof.
Good.
That's a big plus. I continue to hit him every time I talk to him about the fact that the town is willing to go to war over the consolidation pile. And it's got to the point where when I say that, he said, Andy, before I even get to the subject, he says, I understand. So he's a good guy, and I really think he is trying to do something with that. Beyond that, however, we had a meeting last night, and I have been trying to contact Chris Davis to find out if the town could help by getting grant money to defer some of the costs for getting the consolidation pile off-site. It's not a lot of money, and I keep on telling Martin, you know, the delta in piling it in a pile and taking it off-site is $175,000. You can't tell me that a corporation who had profits last year of $4.3 billion can't find $175,000 to get that stuff the hell off-site and make us go away. And I said, we're willing to go to war over this thing. I said, you know, and the war is going to be that we're going to take and contact the press and everybody and tell you guys what a bunch of bad guys you are. That's crazy.
Or we sue them.
Huh?
Or we sue them.
Yeah, but they got pockets so damn deep. We could sue them and lose our head and butt, you know, on that kind of thing. But I really think that UTC is moving in a proper direction. I think we have to be persistent. We have to be reasonable to some extent. We in the committee have two goals: save the old building and get that consolidation pile the hell out of there. And we're very firm on that. And I've told Martin that over and over again, and he is listening. And I think that something good will come out of that. When I talked to Chris Davis today, I asked him whether it would be possible for the town of East Windsor to apply for a grant in the brownfield sector of reclamation of town lands, and then turn that money over to UTC to execute the removal of the material. And he isn't sure about that. He said if you apply for a grant, it normally is that you get the money and you do. He said, I'm going to look into it, Andy. He said, there may be some ways I can get people to bend the rules so that we can get this thing done. He said, not only that, but if you're going to write a grant, he said, I know people who can help you do that at no cost to the town. So there apparently are state, you know those people?
I'm sure you need a caucus staff.
There are people in state government who will help us write it. The good news is that he's the minority leader on the bonding commission, and that's nothing but good. He has great interest in saving the old mill and returning that site to something that is attractive and useful to the town, as opposed to having it being an eyesore and something that we can't live with. So, and he even said, if I can get an invitation to that next meeting where the town and UT and the government agencies are going to get together, I'd like to sit in. So Bob, he's all in on this thing here. He really
That's great.
He really is interested.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Huh? You have a lot. Yes.
I think there's a piece missing here.
Go ahead.
There's over $1 million in taxpayer money still in the bank on this. That could pay for any of this. So I don't think we need grant
But
money.
the problem is, I don't think it can be used for this. It's all earmarked for future stuff like monitoring and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough.
And I told him that, and he's willing to look into that and see if that's part of the bending of the rules, okay?
Thank you.
But there's $1.3 million left in state funding that came through DEEP,
Our money.
our money. And it should be, and we've said over and over again, it should be used for something good.
Yes.
And Martin DiRamos has said, but it is a coal ash and material like that that can be dealt with there. It is not the heavy metals that UTC may have put into the soil with their plating operation.
Marie?
Well, we're exploring that.
Yeah, have you asked them if the reason that they don't want to spend $175,000 is because they have no place to bring that once it gets put on trucks? Only reason why I'm asking is because the prep school in Bloomfield that they just redone over, they've been doing it all summer long. They had a real hard time, difficult time to try to get a place to put it because of the level of contamination.
I don't think that's the case. I think that there are
I want to
places.
ask them.
I have asked that question, and I really think it's because we have not reached high enough in UTC to get the right answer. DiRamo is in the right kind of a spot. He is the Deputy Director of Government Affairs for the state of Connecticut. So he's number 2 guy in a corporation who deals with the legislature. I mentioned his name to Chris Davis today, and he knows him. So I really think things are going our way. They're slower than I'd like to see, but we've come a long way in 6 months or so, because they were going to tear the old building down and, you know, put a pile behind the church, and I think we've convinced them that that may not be the best thing to do. They haven't said yes.
Also, Marie, Bill Lowe's went to with the fire department disposes hazardous waste when they have an incident, and that company said for $400,000 they take away the pollution that's there. The 1,300 cubic yards, which is about 90 truckloads. So we got a price. There's a place to put it, but it was more than the delta is the difference between what it would cost UTC just to move it and consolidate it behind the church, and so we might be able to they might be able to take it off site for $250. That might be the lowest price you could, $250,000. So there's talk of how much it's going to cost.
The $175,000 is a UTC number. That's a delta number between piling it and taking it off site. So rather than having it be our number, which is not as good as their number, it's their number.
Okay, there's no more discussion. We'll go on to the next topic, which is the charter revision. And the reason I wanted to bring that up, questions 3 and 6 don't care that much. Question 3 says, in your view, what areas involving town government need more focus and support? That's question 3. That's pretty generic. And question 7, if you could change one thing about how the town government currently works, what would it be? That's pretty generic too. And in fact, if you go onto the website under charter revision, you'll see the answers to the surveys. And in the appendix, the answers to question 3 and 7 are there, and there's over 300 answers. The survey had, I guess, 206 participants. And I started to read those to see, because I think when the people answered those questions, they weren't thinking about the charter. They were just answering the questions. What do you want? What needs more support and focus? And if you had to name one thing, what would it be? Some named 3 or 4, but that's okay. So I started to see a pattern there, and I hope to have it finished by this meeting. And I didn't get it through all those 300 because I had to break them out into different groups when people said more than one. And also they'd use the same terms, like they'd use residents were saying they wanted to see more collaboration, they wanted to see compromise, they wanted to see cooperation. They wanted to see civility. So some of those terms, I would say, well, they're saying the same thing with collaboration, compromise, cooperation. They're saying they want us to work together. So I kind of simplified it. I wouldn't count those as 3 things. I count them as 1. So it's said 3 times. So hopefully by the next meeting, I'm sure I can give you my analysis of what the people were saying just generally about the town. That's all I have to say about that. Did anybody make any comments? Okay, new business. This is a big deal, and that's why I broke it out. And there's something on the table, and I'll pass this down to the selectmen. And this is a more comprehensive report about that, what I'm going to talk about. And
One more?
It's 2 there.
Yeah, I need one pipe.
I don't have one more.
That's
right
okay, I'll
now.
pass this on today, or I'll
Yeah.
run a copy at home and give her a copy.
Yeah, and at the end of the meeting, I can make a copy. And I'm not going to say too much about it, but I'd say generally, well, it kind of says in not the one I passed out perhaps, but in in 2014, that's when Riverbend came, and which, as you probably know better than I do, it's the Griffin property now, I believe, and it was, somebody said, who owned it before that?
Jimmy Starvish.
Starvis. And so it's down off of Rye Street where the Plantation Road extension is, and it goes down to the Scantic River. So 2014, they said they wanted to sell the property rights, and they worked with the state, and in 2016, East Windsor agreed to work with the state and provide 25% of the cost. And just in the last month, this has been finalized. And tomorrow, we're going to give them a check from the Open Space Fund. This was approved a long time ago by Planning and Zoning, of $216,468.75 to purchase with the state of Connecticut the property rights for this 115 acres of property. And also the town will be getting a passive recreation activities that'll include hiking, nature observation, canoeing, and kayaking. Minimal environmental impact. So and tomorrow we're going to give them the check, and it's also in the check register that you guys will sign tonight, but I thought I would break it out and emphasize it because this is a big deal. This is years of work coming into fruition, and I think it's something that we should know.
That's good land.
It is.
That's good land.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yeah.
Isn't it development rights?
Or
do they call it?
They call it development
Purchasing
rights,
and
purchase
development.
development rights.
So the way it works is if you have property in fee simple, all rights are intact. What the state does is they buy the development rights
No, I
and
understand.
the retention of the
But we
agriculture.
said property rights multiple
I
times.
misspoke.
I just wanted to get it corrected.
Development rights, I
Yes,
misspoke.
thank you.
Yes.
Is Tom renting out that property now to Franklin Farms?
We don't know.
We don't know. Griffin.
No, the farm they give to the Reichley's is the town farm.
Okay. Reichley's got this?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he had that property too.
What's her
He
name?
might,
Foster.
if he private.
Foster is raising tobacco on
Okay.
the land we're talking about now.
Used to be the Doy's farm.
Who was that?
Doy's used to be there as a shade farm.
Okay, any discussion on that, further discussion on that? Okay, now we'll go on to, next item is the Sabonis property. Barbara, when you said what you did tonight, that I might not have put it in, but I was talking to some people about that, and I'm saying, well, when Andy walked the property,
Steve and I walked into the property.
yeah, okay. They concluded that nobody's going to buy it in the near future, and so that we don't have to be in a hurry to make this decision, and we kind of put it off. But then I was talking to people, and maybe I'm wrong, but they said that there's another piece of property adjacent to it, maybe on this chart, we might decide they want to buy this property too for $16,000. So that's one reason why you might want to buy it when we have the opportunity. And also somebody said you could buy that and make a hunting lodge there and use it for hunting. And so that's another use that's being considered. So,
So the other consideration would be that even though it's not likely to be sold by a private developer in the near term, the town owning it does guarantee access to town residents to use it for passive recreation, whereas if it's privately held, there's no such opportunity there, per se.
I think it's still, for that price, it's a good land to purchase. We do have the money in the open space fund to do it. I think if you want to do it, I think it still would have to go through planning and zoning, and it would have to go through a town meeting to buy this property, so it isn't like a done deal yet. But if we make a motion to use the open space fund to purchase this, that would be a start of our purchasing process. If you don't want to do it, then we don't have to do it.
Yeah, Barbara arranged for us to walk through the property, and Barbara Savonis, is that her name? Was there also. And I think Steve and I had the same opinion, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. My personal opinion is that $1,000 an acre for that land is too much money. I really, truly do. It's wetlands to some extent. It's all overgrown. When you walk in just a couple hundred feet, there's a large wet swale area that goes back up toward Scannick Road. That look to be a couple hundred yards or so back toward the road. Yeah. So it's very, I think it would be hard as hell to develop it and use it for anything. Now, since I'm very old, I remember in 1938 when that road was flooded completely, and again in the 50s it was flooded completely. Not only the Savonis landing and this area, but it went across the road. So that's not something I think that is very developable. And I don't disagree that I'd like to gather up that kind of land. When I talked to Barbara, she said, Andy, it would be a low priority, correct? We got plenty to do. The day that we went on the 20th, and I sent you this note we went on the 10th, and I sent you this note on the 12th. My opinion is that I would not plunk down money for it right now. I go to a real estate person and ask them what it's worth. In her mind, it's worth $1,000 an acre. I'm no real estate person, but I can't imagine that area being worth $1,000 an acre. It is not something you dare build on. So unless there is strong opposition, I wouldn't oppose it. If you got money and you want to buy it, I really wouldn't oppose it. That's what I said in the note here. I'm not a big booster for it, but I wouldn't oppose it. But you can, but that.
Superimpose the wetlands on it, you should superimpose the flood zone on it. And then how much land do you actually have? And also the steep slopes with the terrace escarpment. You got nothing.
In terms of buildable lot, sure, but
You got nothing. Terrace escarpment, you don't even want to disturb it because the whole thing will wash right away on you. You can't do anything in the flood zone, and you can't do anything in the wetlands. I don't think there's much to that property. Nobody's going to build on it. The worst they could do is stop you from walking on it.
We didn't walk in very far, Dick, because it was all thorns and brush and that kind of thing, but you're absolutely right.
3,000 feet.
you walk in just a little ways, a couple hundred feet, and there's a low area where that day it wasn't wet, but it was muddy. It went way back toward Scannick Road.
It also depends on soil types too, you know. And when you take your floodplain off of there, I don't think you're gonna find much of anything's left. So you're not buying really 16 acres of, you're buying square footage, not land.
Okay, well, I think,
Save money for some use.
yeah, Jason.
So I think this is something that we ought to do. I think that there is an opportunity for passive recreation there. I appreciate that it's contiguous to the existing Sabonis Landing, but more importantly, it's contiguous to the parcel that's not yet for sale, which I think has, if we don't buy that, that becomes houses. And I think it becomes an easier and a more logical acquisition if we're buying these adjacent parcels to make essentially one bigger parcel, which could be used for passive recreational purposes. I think we do have the money in the open space fund. To my recollection, in the 11 plus years I've been an elected official, we've tapped that fund one time, and that was tomorrow. So, I mean, it does us no good to keep money in the conservation fund or the open space fund if we're not going to spend it on open space. That's exactly what this is.
When we buy the land on Rye Street, there's going to be like $40,000 left, $45,000,
Yeah,
something like that.
that's correct.
So we will then deplete that by another, whatever the right number is.
How about
And I really would recommend that we go to a real estate person
Okay.
and get a decent figure for what that land is worth.
If you do that, you also should evaluate what the land next to it is worth.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Beyond the stuff that's not yet for sale but has considerably higher value.
Mhm. That's buildable?
Yeah, that's a
The-
subdivision.
The
waiting
adjacent
to-
land
Yeah,
is buildable?
absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had a good discussion. Glad you came, okay, yeah.
Okay, so you got, what was that, 75 acres next door? If somebody wanted to buy that, and they chose to buy this other land, and they were doing some kind of development, but they needed open space, they would say, well, we got open space over here. So it's gone. You can lose it, and then, for what? To help a developer not use up his land.
Right.
I don't think we're winning. I think it's relatively small amount of money. It's not that you're gaining some pristine piece of land, it's the idea is you're protecting the riverfront and keeping it. If you don't do anything and somebody scoops it up, it's gone. You don't get it. And that whole riverfront there becomes whatever they choose to do with it. I'm not saying the price is right. I think Andy's right. Get a fair estimate, and maybe you can get it a little cheaper, who knows? But the point being is it's not a huge investment, but there is benefit because you're getting riverfront property.
Okay,
One other question on it.
sure.
Who owns all the property along the Scannick River on the other side there? Is that town property or state property or what?
On the other side, isn't that, I don't know.
Over here?
Is there, I think town.
I believe it's town.
Yeah,
Yeah, town owns that area.
The town owns all
Yeah, it's
all
part
that
of
side?
Scannick Glen, used to be Jim Lasbury's.
Right, that's what I thought, yeah. So we own one side of the river already.
Yeah.
Might as well own the other side.
Right. Exactly.
so do you want to vote on it now, Jason, or do you want to put it off, get some more information?
I'd vote yes. I'm not sure I get to a second, but
Yeah, well, I'd second it, but I don't know if we want to vote on it.
I move to purchase the Sabonis property at 29 Scannick Road, map 075, block 32, lot 001B for $16,000 from the open space fund. Move the purchase to a town meeting.
Okay, I'll second it. And is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I would like to just simply get a market price for that.
So
And
you- so you
if
want
the
to pay
market
for
price comes
appraisal?
out at $1,000, then I don't care.
So in order to get a market price, you need to pay for an appraisal.
I'm sorry.
In order to get to a market price, you need to pay for an appraisal, which is going to be at least 20% of the cost of that property.
You think so?
$3,000? Yeah, I think so.
Really?
So when we do PDR appraisals, that can be anywhere from 15 to 25,000 for appraisal, and we do 2 of them. I mean, it comes a point in time where, what do you say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't wanna throw good money after that, if that's the case.
Okay, well, let's vote, and like I say, if you vote no, that doesn't mean we can't come back and vote yes at another time. And I'll talk to planning and zoning, see what they think. But, any more discussion?
Well, what will planning and zoning accomplish?
Well, I think we have to go through them anyway, because it's open space fund, and I think they have a lot of say over what we do with that money. In fact, I think we should definitely, if they don't have absolute say, that we certainly owe it to them to say, we're thinking of doing this, we would approve this, but it's up to you if you want to spend that money. At least I would certainly talk to them.
I don't care, do what you guys want to do. Whichever way you want to go, I'll go with you.
By the federal government, so if they take that paragraph out, then we'd be in good shape. So we'll see.
I talked to David Capiello today, and he said he would be here the second meeting in January. That things are pretty up in the air because of the new administration. That they are talking to the governor, the new attorney general, and they are concentrating on the new legislators because they're an unknown. They are focusing on the Connecticut legislature and the new administration. He said it continues to be clear that the state needs to find sources of revenue. He said he doesn't know what the resignation of the
Secretary?
Department of Interior,
Oh, Zinke.
what that means, because the president hasn't selected another one. He's got a long list of people he's got to select, including, as of this evening, a new Department of Defense secretary.
Mattis is out?
He's already left today.
Resign.
He's leaving in
Wow.
February. Leaving in February. So he's got a hell of a long list of people to select.
So one of the people who's rumored to be on the short list for Interior is outgoing Senator Heller from Nevada, who's also referred to as the senator from MGM.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not better.
So they're focusing on the Connecticut legislature to try to get that information, that text removed from the bill that allows the building of the casino here in town. He said he would be here the last meeting in January to give us an update, because they'll know more at that point in time.
Okay. Further comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, Kathy Olson was one that put that bill forward after discussion, that meeting that you and I attended, the only ones that were there, where they brought in the busload for breakfast from Bridgeport. After that meeting was over, it was discussed about taking that one line out of there. And at that point, there was discussion that if they took that line out of there, would the state lose money? And the answer to that was no, they wouldn't, because they're not in violation of that original compact. The only reason why they couldn't approve it now is because the state put their own criteria for. So if they take that line out of there, whoever gets in there next time around, it doesn't matter, because it's a done deal with the state. So I would solicit people to start writing your legislatures now in support of it, and I would use the tax base that's needed in this state, and that the casinos, as the article has stated, that, there's an absorption of them around the area, but if we can get back those that are going to Springfield and have them come to East Windsor, that'll save us in the long term, and I think that's the message we as an entity have to put out there to the current reps. But if Bob and I are sitting in the audience, and Bob and I are writing letters, and I'm writing letters to the editor, and nobody else is doing anything, they don't have the backup from the community, and I know there's a lot of the backup from the community, especially if you start talking increasing your taxes. And we all know the state has already upped our taxes and removed our deductions, and there's going to be more forthcoming. So if you want to save a little bit, you might want to get a pen and paper out and start attending some of these meetings come January.
The feds removed the deductions too.
Huh?
The feds removed the deductions too.
Yeah.
I know. We just got rid of only 3 good ones on us.
And I think that, I agree with you, and it's good that you brought it up, because I was thinking along the same things. When I saw this, I realized that now's the time we have to start talking to the state legislature, and I also realized that there's 4 or 5 towns around us that are getting $750,000 a year if they open that thing, and maybe if we should start talking to them and say, hey, this is your time to solicit that money, and so it is a time to start beating the bushes and making noise, and I think that's what this article kind of indicated too, so it's a good point.
We asked that question of Capiello the last time he was here, and he said, I will tell you when we want to have you do something, and what we want you to do.
Yeah, so that's good. So let's talk to him again and say, we're ready, give us the word. And maybe
We'll have that opportunity
Yeah.
in January.
Yep.
Well, Capiello doesn't want to do anything until March. Until March.
That's when the public hearing will be. That's when the public hearing will be.
Yes.
But we can start writing letters, stuff like that. We can talk to other towns. So let's see. We got any more discussion on the casino? Right. Next item is Grace Church. So maybe for less than $400,000, we could get a senior center. Where can you get a senior center for that price? So I think Melissa and I, and maybe somebody from Public Works will walk through it and start doing a release. But just thought I'd call to your attention that
It's on Lincoln Road. Over Lincoln and Norton.
Oh, the brick one right there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Used to be the stone church on Church Street back in the day.
Yeah.
That's the church that gave Church Street its name?
Yeah, Grace
Yes.
Church.
That was Grace Episcopal Church. You should come to the
Really,
library.
that church
and learn
doesn't
that.
really look like
Have
a
that
church, it
stuff.
looks more like a building.
Yeah, it's a nice brick building.
Yeah,
Yeah. Has a big cross out.
you know, that can come down, you know.
Yeah, so it's something to think about.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah. Well, you know, we had the chance to buy Chester's Supermarket too for 400 grand at one time.
What would you have done with that?
That would have been a municipal complex for East Windsor, the town hall, the police department, the ambulances.
At the time it wasn't Seward, right?
It was not Seward. But Chester's was using way more water and everything than we would have used flushing toilets. But for 400,000, it was owned by the realtor and Antonacci's. Had a brand new roof put on it. The whole 9 yards for 400 grand. I mean, that was the buy of the cent. The town should have jumped on that, and they didn't do it. And everything would have been halfway between Broadbrook and Warehouse Point, you know? That would have been a good spot for the town. Well, it's gone, so that's the end of that.
Okay, so now Andy wanted to talk about education of town officials.
Yeah.
And I'll pass this out. I only have 3, but I'll pass it down. this is a listing of what CCM offers, and maybe there's some things there that we can jump on immediately, publicize it, and let people know. Pass it. Want to pass that down? Just take one. It's just. But go ahead.
At the last meeting in October, I said that I really thought that it would be in the best interest of commissions, boards, and even committees here in our town to have the opportunity to go to seminars to talk about things that are important, like Robert's Rules, our charter, and other things. I gave a list to Bob and to Amanda at that time, and Amanda looked at it. She said that she thought that some of the things that I had recommended were available already, and it was a matter of hooking up with people who provided that information, and that she would get to it after the first of the year, after the town report, annual report was completed. And that's about now. So what I'm looking for is additions from the people here. What I gave to Amanda was just one person's idea of what I thought as a new incoming board member that I could have used that would have made me a better selectman earlier. When I worked at United Technologies at Hamilton, for a while, I had about 800 engineering people working for me, and I had a program where when a new person came in, they were given about 8 hours worth of introductory information as to what forms they should use, where what various procedures they were expected to follow, and so on. When I joined the program, we actually spent like 3 months in a orientation program, which included should be included in this training course, and send it to either Amanda or myself via email, and we'll certainly give it consideration, because over the next couple of months or so, we'd like to formulate what we think is a reasonable course curriculum for this activity, and go forward with it and have it available, at least in the fall.
Sounds good, and we'll follow up. We'll put this on the agenda again.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no more discussion. We'll go on to the authorization. And a little background. This authorization and what was in your package is the Department of Energy Services and Public Protection offers a grant, and what the grant is for emergency management. And actually we have a line item in our budget that this grant funds, and so every year we go through the process, and there's 2 parts to this. One will be to authorize me to review and authorize the Homeland Security Grant memorandum of understanding, or of agreement. And the other one, that's G, is apparently this blank resolution was changed by the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, and so we have to approve the change, and I'm not sure what it was, there's a couple words, just to execute it. So those are the 2 things that you have there.
What is Region 3? What towns does that include? We're part of Region 3.
I don't know, other than East Windsor, but I would imagine it's, you know, Enfield and, but I don't know what Region 3 is. This is really, was given to me, it's from Chief DeMarco, and he's in charge of he's the Emergency Management Director, but it does need our approval.
And then it talks about resources, and it has a list of, you know, regional collaboration, Connecticut Intelligence Center, Fusion Center, you know, Metropolitan Medical Response System. What would our responsibilities be in this? Would we be given some of these areas that they consider resources and say these are yours to manage as a town of East Windsor?
No, I don't think so. I think our emergency management, I think this pays. It costs, in the line item, there's about $17,000 that
To the town?
that the town's going to spend on emergency management. Of that, like $9,000 is a stipend to the chief, and I think others work with him, and they have to go to courses, and every once in a while we'll have a drill where the region will pretend we have an emergency, and the people involved in emergency management, like Eversource and the fire departments and Public Works, and we'll all get together in the police station and we'll go through a drill and decide how we handle the situation that's occurred. So I think this is just to fund the town, to give money to the town to have to participate in the emergency management.
There's a number on page 2 of $357,659, which sounds like it's the money that's going to be allocated to Region 3.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how much of that comes to the town of East Windsor for our participation.
Well, it certainly no more than $17,000, and I'm not sure if the entire $17,000 comes from this grant, so I don't know the amount that this grant would be for.
In reading this, and I read it a couple of times, I guess, I really don't understand what our relationship is to the state and what our relationship is to our partners in Region 3. I can't figure that out.
So Region 3 is a 41-town region. It's the way emergency management and public protection or emergency management and homeland security is organized. It looks like there are 5 regions. So we're with the closest 41-town state.
So our part of if it indeed is 357K plus, our part of it divided by however you parse it out at 41 participants is not a heck of a lot of money.
No.
Yeah.
And what are our obligations for that? Attending meetings, or we have to do real work, or is it going to cost the town money to be a part of it?
No, it really funds the town's emergency management, or at least part of it. Like I say, the participants do have to go to courses and take courses, so that's something they have to do, and I suppose in a sense the town pays for that because they're not at work when they're doing that. And then we give them a stipend, but I think this covers their stipend, so it's just helps us fund our emergency management.
So this is revenue neutral, doesn't cost us anything, you think?
No, it helps us.
We spend the money that is available to us,
Yes.
and it's up to the chief to manage that money.
That's correct. Yes.
Sure. They have a volunteer group that belongs to the emergency management that just do things on a volunteer. And part of their outreach, when they have these exercises, make sure the volunteers know how to operate the emergency management system that they have. They also do training to those people down there. along with bringing fire department stuff out. And if you go back to when we were losing all the power, and we needed shelters, it gives us an opportunity to have something available because they were able to get the generators that we needed. They were able to get the approval from Red Cross to use certain buildings to have people stay in it because you have to have that approval because we had nothing for a long time. And they've done an excellent job with the minimal amount of money they have to deal with to bring it up to where I feel comfortable that if we lose power for 2 days, I don't have to worry about somebody freezing outside. There'll be some place for them to go because they'll have the resources to get the cots out and they have the collaborative efforts and stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think for a long while you were involved a little bit. I know, okay, yeah, so they've done a great job, so to not to approve it, I think we would be doing this disservice to the town, because that's our lifeline in chances of a disaster, and we know disasters are gonna come.
And during the training, when they have the day set aside, it's the ability to make sure that our computer system is interfacing with everyone else's, that we can all be on the same band, that we can hear the information so it can be disseminated, whether it's coming out of Soapstone Mountain or wherever it's coming from, and then we in turn can answer whatever is going on. So that we have to make sure that our computers are up, our telephone system is working, and that is what some of the money pays for. So we have a drill once a year. And they come up with a scenario, whether it's a plane crash, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's the flood, whatever is happening, major spill on 91, things shut down, and then it just facilitates, and each town comes in and what they're doing, and then depending on what it is, if it's a hurricane, we're without power, we make sure that we have the warming place open, that the cots are ready, that whatever's happening, so whatever the scenario is. So it's, you've got to do it because you could have an emergency at any point.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think there's any alternative other than saying we're in, but, you know, there are things that, it talks about management of assets. That sometimes costs money, to manage an asset. It talks about providing assets in a timely manner. That sometimes costs money to get an asset, whatever that is, a generator or whatever, on site someplace. Does the money that we are going to derive from this, is it going to cover all of that, or are we going to find ourselves taking money out of, our works department or something like that to do it?
Well, I think that's probably where we would attain assets from, is the Public Works Department, but we'd only use them during an emergency.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, when you have an emergency, you want to have the equipment available to you that you'll need, they're not going to pay us for it, and they're not going to ask us to buy it. But if we don't have it, we probably should get it. They'll certainly point out you don't have what you need. But I think we do, because as Barbara said, we go through this drill once a year, and
Yeah.
we can certainly, and maybe this is a good thing to have the chief or the deputy come and talk more about what that.
Just for background, so that we understand, because there are other phrases in there, regional assets. What's a regional asset? Do they have let me be facetious, do they have a pile of generators that are stored someplace in Region 3, and when we have a problem with outages here in this part of the Region 3, that they would make those available to us? I just don't know the answers.
No, and I don't know it either, but the chief would. So we'll get
Maybe
him
we can
here.
get a further explanation.
Yep, okay. So, going back to item number F, I move to authorize the first selectman to review and authorize the Homeland Security Grant memo of understanding. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then on to G. I move to adopt and approve the blanket resolution regarding Homeland Security Grant. Your second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll get the chief in. Item number H. We have run out of money to fund the Charter Revision Commission recording secretary. And we asked for $3,000. That would be 2 meetings a month for the year, and we only were given $1,500. So I would ask the Board of Selectmen to request the Board of Finance to give us another $1,375 to pay for a recording secretary for the rest of the fiscal year. Do you want to make that motion, or do you want to talk about it?
I second the motion.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion first then. I move to request the Board of Finance to fund transfer $1,375 to the Charter Revision Commission line 81090051900 to fund the Charter Revision Commission recording secretary for the rest of the fiscal year. Will you second that, Andy?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jason?
No.
Okay. The motion passes. And now, in item I, we have overrun the travel expenses in the assessor's department. And what the assessor is asking for, and actually have detail. Here's the expenses, and I only have 3 of these. So I'll pass those out. And what those expenses are for one member of the, and what happened was we got a new assessor after Carol left, and Carol had put $300 in for travel expenses, but when the new assessor came in, one of the employees, we decided that she should get training that she needed to fill in for the assessor, and the assessor may leave in a year or two. So this, she's going to classes now, and she's already incurred over the $300. She's just driving to these classes, but she lives in Moodus, and the classes were in Rocky Hill, so it would a round trip, and some of the classes were in Waterbury, so it was a round trip with 128 miles. So she's already used up $271.71, and by the end of the fiscal year, she will have used up $490, a little bit more. So they're asking for another $500 to pay for her travel to her classes for the rest of the fiscal year. And I'll make that motion, and then we can talk about it, I guess. I move to request the Board of Finance to transfer $500 to the assessor's line item 52300 to cover travel expenses for the rest of the fiscal year. Is there a second? Okay, discussion.
What's the contract language say on mileage reimbursements?
It's 54 cents a mile.
So they use the GSA rate?
Yeah, 54 cents plus dot, I don't know, 70, yeah, a little over 54 cents, less than 55.
So do we have a policy on mileage reimbursement outside of the contract language?
The policy, and I discussed this with the treasurer today, we pay people to go from their home to classes. And that's what we do.
So what the state does, what the state policy is that you deduct your daily commute from your mileage reimbursement. So
Yeah.
for example, if you're driving from Moosip to East Windsor, you would deduct the mileage to go from Moosip to East Windsor when putting in your mileage reimbursement from Moosip to Rocky Hill, which is probably a wash. So it just is, that seems to be a pretty reasonable thing. You are expected to drive to work 5 days, and then beyond that, whatever that is, or whatever that equates to, beyond that, the town would reimburse at the GSA rate.
And that is the exact question I asked the treasurer when I went down there, because I had the same thought, and she says, we don't do that. So in other words, we got a policy in place that isn't that. To change it would be difficult, because then you'd have people, grieving the thing.
Not if it's not in the contract.
Well, okay, you'd have people saying, wait a minute, how come she got paid and we didn't? But if you want to make that happen, vote
I just
against
think,
it.
I mean, we're talking about a couple $100, but there is the underlying principle.
Well, I agree with that.
You know.
And that's, like I said, I went down and talked to the treasurer about that, because I thought that was a little high mileage, and so maybe we can deal with that.
And if Amy could provide the contract language that speaks to mileage reimbursement.
I think it would be good to begin at, we're now in the budget, beginning of the budget process, and to maybe put it for next year, that would probably be a very wise thing to do.
The other thing I'd like to see is the written policy on mileage reimbursement.
I agree. Okay. We'll do that and bring it up again. So, any further discussion? All those in favor of asking the Board of Finance to transfer $500 to this travel account, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Amy, you were for it or against it?
I'd like to see the policy, frankly, before I say aye.
Okay. All right.
No?
Okay, so we failed. So Carrie doesn't get her money, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the other question is, I would also, if she's going for a full day thing and she's going to, from her house to wherever this full day thing is, that's different from if she is coming here and has availability of a town car to use. I just don't know the details.
She should use the town car anyways.
What's that?
She should be using the town car anyways, if it is a full day thing.
Yeah, there are also policies that ought to be in place if you're going to garage town equipment off at your home. There's liability issues that are associated
She
with
should
that.
have to come to work and use the town car.
Then there's the number of hours and the overtime implication. There's a lot of ways that you can get jammed up. But these are all examples of things that ought to be clarified in policy.
Well, what the need is to go to get education when you're supposed to be already qualified for the position. Are they refresher courses, or are the courses she's trying to build her own resume to move on? Those would be things that I'd be concerned about.
I'm less concerned about that. I believe in training the workforce and allowing for career opportunities. So
I do too, but how many times have we trained people only for them to leave? If it's a requirement of the job and she doesn't meet it, that's one thing. If it's a new law, that's another. But if it's just because I want to go to the class for the same subject, that's something different.
what's that?
Take the commute, your normal daily commute off the mileage, but we still should be using the common vehicle. Why do we have it if we don't use it?
Well, whatever the solution to this and any problem is, it ought to be codified in policy. And then applied fairly to everybody.
There's a policy.
I don't remember a written one though.
Back when Denise was there, there was a policy.
Oh, Bob will find it.
Okay. Moving on to approval of tax refunds.
Are we doing both of them?
I don't have it with me.
There are two, the one from November 13th is attached, and the one from December 17th is attached. Have the November 13th ones been approved as of yet?
I would imagine,
You didn't have a meeting.
We didn't have a meeting that
all right, so, yeah, they're
Right,
both,
that was the snowstorm.
yeah. Okay, so,
I move to approve the tax refunds from November 13th, 2018 in the amount of $198.22.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye. Oh, I move to approve the tax refund dated December 17th, 2018 in the amount of $8,526.29.
Second.
Okay, and, all those in favor?
Aye.
Selectmen reports, Andy?
There was no EDC meeting this month. There's no report.
What about the fire commission one?
The report.
Well, you could talk about the December 18th?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah, I can. The meeting over at the Route Point Fire District. Yeah. There was a meeting that was held on the 18th in the Broadbrook and Warehouse Point Fire Department personnel were there. A fair number of people also showed up, residents, to talk about the proposition of having a single fire district for the town of East Windsor and East Windsor Fire District. The upshot of it, after a whole bunch of discussion, was that the fire departments were asked to go back to their respective members and poll them to find out whether they were for a common fire district, the East Windsor Fire District, one for the whole town. It would require the rewriting of some documents and process and procedures. It would require understanding how you're going to set up the fire commission and a number of other things. So it's a fairly complex task to get the whole thing lined up. But the first step is to find out whether the two fire departments want to participate in that kind of an arrangement. And that was set up. There's a new meeting, there's an additional meeting set up for the 15th of January to discuss that after the departments have voted how they'd like to do it.
On what day? What day did you say?
15th of
January 15th.
January.
Okay, Jason?
I have no report.
Okay. Steve, do you have a report?
No, I was gonna talk about that fire meeting. But,
Okay, go ahead. You had a,
You kind of know how I felt about it at the meeting. And my opinion is everybody was pushing for the whole town to have a fire tax. The whole town to be,
That is what they're doing.
pardon?
That is what they're doing.
I know, it's never gonna happen. So I don't even know why they're wasting their time on that, but, I don't know. All I can say is when the signs go up to come out and vote, people on this side of town better get off their asses and come out here and vote. Because you need 2/3 to pass it. So if 3 people show up and 2 people vote for a fire tax, you're taxed. People in Enfield pay $400 to $500 on a house. And once you get the fire tax in place, just like in Warehouse Point, there's no stopping them. They can raise that tax as much as they want, when they want, We say the people can come out and vote it down, but the people do not come out and vote it down. They don't go. I've never seen anything publicized where they have their meetings down here for voting.
It's posted on the door of the firehouse, like the 95.
So I'm supposed to drive by and stop at the firehouse and read that notice, huh, Jason?
Hey, I'm not defending it, I'm just saying.
That's not the way to do it. The last meeting they had 29 people there to vote, and it was all fire members. So you know how that went.
And I think that's wrong, Steve, to have it that way. If there is a fire district, I really believe that the annual vote on a budget should be done by referendum, just like the primary vote on our grand list tax is done by referendum. I do not think it should be done by a town meeting that's easily stacked. That's the wrong thing to do.
Well, the only people that can vote, Andy, are the people that are in that fire district.
Oh, I know, but if it's a town-wide one, if it goes that way,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure it will, but if it goes that way, then I would oppose having it done by a town meeting. I would insist that it be done by town referendum, just like our vote on our primary budget is. That way, every single person can go out. In a general sense, I think people will not stand up and be counted. They don't want to look like a bad guy. Now, I don't mind being a bad guy, but if you go into a voting booth and you do it the way you want to do it, no one knows, and people feel more comfortable with that. So, if there is a fire district, I would lobby like hell to not do it unless it's done by referendum. It's the only fair way.
No, it's
And I agree with you, the Warehouse Point one, and I don't know the details of it, seems like it gets stacked. And in spite of all of what we hear about double taxation and stuff like that, I don't hear many complaints from the Warehouse Point side. And Steve keeps on making that point, that there's an inequity, and I don't think it should be an inequity. However, when we get all done with this thing here, whether it's a town-funded fire department for both sides, or whether it's a fire district for both sides, I think you have to recognize the privacy of the people who are going to vote for it. We should not force them to go to a town meeting and stand up and say, I don't want to fund the fire department. Because the fire department may decide that their fire truck didn't start and go to their house when it's on fire, okay? And there's some fear for that. So I say, if it goes to a fire district, the budgetary vote goes to referendum.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and you'd have to put that in a charter or bylaws of the town-wide fire district, and if they did that, then maybe I'd vote for it. And in fact, it is a problem. It's a public safety problem because in the near future, we're not getting enough volunteer fire. And so we're going to have to start funding, and when we are funding part-time people now, and I think Rob Brooks asking for now part-time people on Friday and Saturday nights, because those are nights when they're not getting people to show up for fire. So there's a big expense just down the road, and hopefully get that casino because we need the money. But,
firefighters go back a long way in my family.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was a fireman for 60 years. My uncle Chubby Steiger was the chief for, how long, Bill?
25.
20 years.
25.
My brother Jerry was fire chief for 10 or 15. So, and those guys, when the fire whistle went off, my father would jump out of bed, my brother Jerry would jump out of bed, they'd head out, and they'd say, come on, Andy, and I'd pull the pillow down over my head, and I'd stay in the sack. I didn't want to do that, okay? But there was a waiting list to be tortured. They had 60 members in the Brock Fire Department, right? There was a waiting list of 10 or 15 people all the time. You know, I was a decent baseball player. I had a professional contract. I played softball for a very good Broadbrook Fire Department softball team. We won the New England championship one time. We were so good. They made a special exception for me. They put me on a fire department. They made me 61, okay? So, but times have changed. That doesn't happen anymore. And we're headed toward paid fire department, paid people in the fire department, whether it is a volunteer department with paid personnel to help out, or whether you have a paid fire department, like the Thompsonville portion of Enfield. And their fire district is something like, what, Bill, 3-4 times that of any other district in the town of Enfield, right? Because it's a paid fire department. You gotta look to the future. This is
Hazardville's all paid now, too.
Hmm?
Hazardville's full-time now, too.
Hazardville? I didn't know that. But we gotta look to the future, because this isn't about tax inequity. It really isn't. It's about how you want to configure our fire department for the future. That's really the thing we have to get at. How do we want to do it? And we should try to do it in some way that is most cost-effective, that serves our town. And I don't know the answer right now, but I'm sure we're going to work hard to try to get all the answers that are necessary to put all the blocks in place.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd like to clarify something. The Warehouse Point Fire District publishes legal notices in the JI for all their meetings, just like any other agency, because they have to. It's the law.
Oh, but the 95 PCs joke was a good one.
And I know that, and that's all well and good, but they do publish their legal notices. I know, because I bring them down to the restaurant on Sundays when I see them, so people can be aware. Of course, this is not Warehouse Point, but there are people from Warehouse Point there, so, and they don't go to the meetings either.
Okay, well,
You
Dick?
gotta realize that you say you want a referendum on those, but you're not gonna have any choice. Because if they decide to do it, the district is gonna conduct the meeting, and the town's gonna have nothing to say about it other than the taxpayers within the district are there at that meeting. Bill and I have been through one of those, when Warehouse Point expanded their tax district. And we were out of the district, they would not even let us speak. And they told, their noses must have been longer than Pinocchio with the stories they were telling to scare everybody to get their district through. Because you realize that district used to just be basically the village of Warehouse Point. And Bradford always used to be with their own fires everywhere in the district. Right, Bill? We got, I figure there's at least 75 years worth of experience sitting in this room right now.
But that doesn't say we shouldn't try to make it better.
You say you want to get modern. Get modern. Get rid of the Stone Age district. The state is discouraging. They don't work. You're better off to run it as a town management. Have a town department. Quit the duplication. You'll find out how much money you'll actually have to spend on what you really need. Not how many fire trucks we got in this town. Most of them don't even get out to a fire.
What's the problem with a townwide district?
The problem is the town should step up to the plate and take responsibility. You're going to have to do it in the future anyway. That the town is going to have a fire department. It doesn't have to be a district. It's just another layer of way to hide things and mismanage things. You're going to have the inmates running the asylum.
Not
like you got over there.
If the town has a right to vote on it, if we vote on the fire budget in a referendum, town's got control.
It doesn't work that way. The district is going to, once a district is formed, they're going to run their own budget and they could care less what the town does.
We vote on it. Every resident of the town would be eligible to vote in a referendum on the budget of the town fire department.
Only if that's incorporated into their governing document.
Exactly, and I wouldn't vote for any other way.
That's why I say, it's not a simple issue, it's a complex issue. And it's gonna take time. But, you know, if you don't do it right, you shouldn't do it at all.
Right, you're correctly right, that's
And
correct.
it's not done right now.
I don't disagree.
It was done by mistake, we got
Why don't
dismissed
you
by
study
mistake.
How many towns in the state actually have a fire district and how many don't? You would be shocked. There's very few towns with a fire district.
Okay, I think we're getting a little too far. Let's, but,
No, let them walk
you have something to
it.
say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, last time that they had the, meetings at the Bradford Fire Station, to have them turn into a district, and they were looking to see what the interest was in the town. There was a lot of vocal people against it. And I'm the one. If anybody knows me well enough, I don't have no shame in my game. I'll say whatever I want to say at any meeting, whether you like it or not. And when I had an emergency in my house, there wasn't one fire guy that didn't have the courtesy to show up at my house to make sure everything was fine. And they do that all the time. So I'm going to take a little, probably misunderstood what you were trying to imply, but I don't think I can name any fire guy on either side of town that don't jump into that and do their job the way they're supposed to, regardless of what they think of the individual that lives there. So I have great respect for fire departments, any police departments in town, whether they're paid or not. But the paid fire departments are where we're going to go. So it's going to, our taxes are going to go up regardless, because the criteria to be a fireman today is a lot different than it was 60 years ago. And their training is a lot different. The equipment that's required is a lot different. I think I just read some department, might even be our own department, went to some place and all of their gear has to be replaced because it's been contaminated. What town was that? Do you remember?
Every town,
Every town. Yeah.
regulated by the state of Connecticut.
Right. So it's all, yeah, but it's all gonna be, and you're talking $100,000. So with the criteria being changed, whatnot, I think we're gonna be better served in the long run to have paid firefighters in the long run, because then we'll have consistency and coverage that's necessary, and the training will be kept up to date. But that's just my opinion, but I wouldn't say because they don't wanna merge their fire departments together, that one side is better than the other. Do I like everything they do on either side of town? No. But you know what? They do the best they can with what they have. Unfortunately, Warehouse Point decided to go the route they went, and unfortunately, the residents have to suffer.
No, they didn't decide that. I'll stand up against that. I have to push back. That was my fault in a way. It was the town's fault in a way. We were actually trying to be fair and tax the Broadbrook people, that is the non-Warehouse Point people, for their fire department, and the Warehouse Point for their fire department. And that fell apart in April of the year, and we had taken them out of the budget, and the Board of Finance refused to put them back in the budget, so they had no money.
Which was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Well, okay, but it wasn't their fault.
Sure it was. They're the ones who made the decision. They're the ones who made the decision.
They didn't make the decision. The decision was made by the Board of Finance.
They made the decision to come off of the town roll and be independent. That was
Yes.
where our
No,
Point
they
Fire
did-
Department's do.
But they only because the town made the dumb decision to say that they were going to tax, they were also going to tax for the Broadbrook Fire Department, and that was the wrong decision. They couldn't do it. So they're there by mistake. They wanted to get back in, but.
Okay, Warehouse Point got everything they wanted to get that they couldn't get through the original budget when they were a part of the
All
town
right,
budget.
well, we have a disagreement there.
Well, there was a little problem with some discrepancies on funding.
That's right.
That's why this all
That's
came
right,
to a
that's what
head.
happened.
There was some answers they
That's
couldn't
what-
get.
Okay,
When I
say-
sat
all
on
right.
the Board of Selectmen, I couldn't get a straight answer out of it.
All right. We're going on, now I'm going to say my report. And my report is that we have a new town planner. And he came in and said hello to the selectmen tonight. Maybe most of you met him. Ruben Flores Marzan is his name. He was born in Puerto Rico and got his college degree in Ohio and did some work as a town planner in Florida, and actually was in charge of all of Puerto Rico for a while, and then went to Ware, Massachusetts, and now he's here. He's a dynamic guy, so.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Okay, so now, I would, we'll go into executive session, so I move to go into executive session and include Peter Alvarisi.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
After a minute break.
After a 5-minute break. Give me a chair. You can sit at the table.
It's special, we generally think it'll stand while I address it. So it brings you here tonight.
I know that.
Yeah, we talked about this. So, Bob, before we go into the session, don't worry about the TV.
Thank you.
That
TV is working.
Your business all over.
You guys saw the blue light earlier.
The blue lights for show. Wouldn't that be a kicker if that didn't actually really mean anything at all?
Thank you, same to you.